I own a garage on the outskirts of town. Been working on engines since I was 16. Learned from my old man who ran his own shop for 30 years. There is something honest about fixing things with your hands, watching a broken engine come back to life. I met Amanda 2 years ago when her car broke down near my place. She seemed impressed by my work, asked a million questions about how engines worked. We started dating, and I thought I had found someone who got me. But that Friday afternoon, standing outside her apartment door with flowers in my hand, I heard her sister ask about introducing me to some people. Amanda laughed and said she would never bring me to that party. Then came the words that stopped my heart cold. Relax. I am just using him. I would never marry a grease monkey. Before I tell you how I made her regret those words, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever been judged for what you do, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story is about proving them all wrong. 2 years before that terrible moment, Amanda walked into my garage with a smoking engine and a worried expression. Her sedan had given up on Main Street, and someone recommended my place. I remember wiping my hands on a rag, seeing this beautiful woman in business clothes, looking completely out of place among the toolboxes and tire racks. She explained the problem, and I got to work. While I diagnosed the issue, she asked questions. Not the usual polite small talk, but real questions about how combustion engines worked, what caused certain sounds, why oil viscosity mattered. She seemed genuinely fascinated. When I finished the repair 3 hours later, she insisted on taking me to dinner as thanks. That dinner turned into another date, then another. Those early months felt perfect. Amanda would stop by the garage after her marketing job downtown, bringing sandwiches or coffee. She would sit on an old stool in the corner, watching me work while we talked about our days. I told her about my dream of expanding the business, maybe opening a second location across town. She encouraged every idea, called them ambitious and exciting. She said things like, "You are going to be so successful, and I love how passionate you are about this." I felt understood in a way I had never experienced before. Here was someone who saw past the grease stains and recognized the skill, the dedication, the business sense it took to run a successful garage. My life had a comfortable rhythm. Up at 6 every morning, opening the shop by 7. I handled everything from oil changes to complete engine rebuilds. My reputation in the community was solid. Customers trusted me because I never oversold services or cut corners. The money was good. Not flashy, but steady. I had been saving for years, planning that expansion. I took pride in building something real, with my own 2 hands, and being the kind of person people could count on when their transmission failed or their brakes started grinding. The first crack appeared about 6 months before everything fell apart. Amanda invited me to dinner with her best friend Jennifer, who worked in finance. When Jennifer asked what I did, Amanda hesitated. She said he works with cars in this vague way, like she was describing someone who washed vehicles at a car wash, instead of someone who owned his own business. Jennifer pressed for details, and Amanda quickly changed the subject to some movie they both wanted to see. I felt a twist in my stomach, but told myself I was reading too much into it. Maybe she just did not want the conversation to revolve around work. Then came the evening we ran into her boss at a restaurant. Amanda and I were having dinner when her supervisor walked past our table. Amanda introduced me with my name only, nothing else. When the woman asked what I did, Amanda jumped in before I could answer. "Oh, he is in the automotive industry," she said with this bright smile. Automotive industry. It sounded so much more corporate than mechanic, so much cleaner than the reality of spending 10 hours a day under cars. I noticed the difference, noticed how Amanda seemed relieved when her boss nodded approvingly and moved on. But I pushed the discomfort down. Maybe she was just trying to keep things simple. 3 months before that Friday, Amanda took me home to meet her family. The house was one of those old colonial places with a circular driveway and columns by the front door. Her parents were polite in that cold way people are when they are judging you behind their smiles. Her father asked about my work with this assessing look, like he was calculating my worth based on my answer. Before I could explain that I owned the garage, that I had 12 regular employees, and served over 200 clients a month, Amanda interrupted. She started talking about the weather, about their upcoming vacation, about anything except what I did for a living. Her sister Stephanie asked more direct questions. Where did I go to college? What were my career goals? Each question felt like a test I was failing. The evening ended early. As we drove away, I told Amanda I felt like her family did not want me there. She squeezed my hand and said, "They are just protective, do not worry." I wanted to believe her. Other small things started adding up. Amanda never wanted me to pick her up from work, claiming it was too far out of my way, even though I drove past her building anyway. She rarely posted photos of us on social media, and when she did, she never tagged me. If I asked about company events or parties, she would say they were boring or that I would not enjoy them. At the time, I convinced myself she was being considerate, not wanting to drag me to work functions. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. She was keeping me separate from her real life, the life she wanted to build. I was something she enjoyed in private, but was ashamed of in public. That Friday in late May, I closed the garage 2 hours early. Business had been good all week, and I wanted to surprise Amanda with her favorite Thai food and a bouquet of those purple irises she loved. I drove across town feeling proud of myself for being spontaneous, for doing something romantic. When I reached her apartment building and climbed to the 3rd floor, I found her door slightly open. I could hear voices inside, Amanda and Stephanie talking in the living room. I was about to knock when I heard my name. Stephanie was asking about introducing me to some people called the Harrisons. Amanda sighed, annoyed. I am not bringing Dylan to that party. Stephanie sounded confused. Why not? Is he not your boyfriend? Another sigh from Amanda, heavier this time. Look, Stephanie, Dylan is temporary. He is sweet, but he is not husband material. I stood frozen, the flowers heavy in my hand, my heart hammering against my ribs. Stephanie pressed further. What do you mean? Amanda's voice came through clearly, each word like a blade. Come on. He is a mechanic. He smells like motor oil half the time. Can you imagine me bringing him to company events? To Mom and Dad's country club? Stephanie said something I could not quite hear. Amanda continued. Nice does not pay for the lifestyle I want. Greg from accounting has been asking me out. His family owns 3 car dealerships. That is the kind of guy I should be with. Then came Stephanie's question. So why are you still with Dylan? Amanda laughed. The sound made my stomach turn. Relax. I am just using him. I would never marry a grease monkey. But he is convenient right now. He fixes my car for free. He is always available. And honestly, he is so into me that he does not question anything. When Greg makes his move, I will just transition. I do not remember walking back down those stairs. I do not remember dropping the flowers in the dumpster behind her building or driving back to the garage. I just remember sitting in my office long after sunset, the recording of their conversation playing over and over in my head. 2 years. 2 years of thinking I had found someone real, someone who accepted me. And the whole time, I was just convenient. A free mechanic, a placeholder, until someone richer came along. That weekend, I did not confront Amanda. I know some people would have stormed in right then, would have shouted and demanded explanations. But I have always believed in thinking before acting, in making sure my next move is the right one. So I pretended everything was normal. I texted her goodnight, like always. I made plans to see her the following week. And I started paying attention to things I had been ignoring. The first thing I noticed was her phone. One evening at my place, Amanda left it on the kitchen counter while she showered. A text lit up the screen. Greg A. The message read, "Cannot wait to see you tomorrow at the conference." I stared at those words. Amanda had not mentioned any conference to me. I thought about checking her messages but stopped myself. I did not need to snoop. The evidence was already piling up. I started tracking her schedule. The nights she claimed she had to work late. The weekend meetings that supposedly could not be rescheduled. I called her office once, asking to be transferred to Amanda's department. The receptionist cheerfully told me everyone had left at 5, that there were no evening meetings scheduled that week. Amanda had told me she would be working until 9. Then, I did something I am not proud of. I created a fake social media account and searched for Amanda's friends. One of them, a coworker named Lisa, posted constantly. In her photos from a company happy hour, I saw Amanda in the background. Next to her stood a man in an expensive suit, his hand resting on the small of her back. The caption called it Corporate Dinner Goals. I clicked on the tags until I found him. Greg Anderson, 32 years old, accounting manager. His profile was filled with photos of luxury vacations, expensive dinners, and yes, cars. Lots of cars. His family's dealership chain was prominently featured. This was who Amanda wanted. Someone whose wealth was inherited. Someone who never had to prove himself by building something from nothing. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The following Thursday, Amanda texted that she had to work late on a big presentation. I drove to her office building and parked across the street, feeling like some character in a bad movie. At 9 p.m., she walked out. Greg was beside her, his arm casually draped over her shoulders. They were laughing about something completely comfortable with each other. They got into his BMW, a new model, that probably cost more than I made in a year. I followed them to an Italian restaurant downtown, the kind with cloth napkins and a wine list thicker than a phone book. I sat in my truck across the street, watching through the large front windows. I could see them at a corner table, candlelight flickering between them. The way Amanda leaned forward when Greg talked. The way she laughed, throwing her head back. The way Greg reached across the table and took her hand, and she did not pull away. This was not a work dinner. This was not two colleagues grabbing food after a long day. This was a date. Sitting there, I realized I was not heartbroken anymore. I was angry. Not the hot, explosive kind of anger that makes you do stupid things, but cold, focused anger. The kind that demands action. For 2 years, I had been faithful, supportive, present. I had fixed her car a dozen times without charging her. I had listened to her complain about work, had celebrated her promotions, had planned a future with her. And the whole time she saw me as temporary, as a grease monkey who smelled like motor oil, as someone convenient until someone better came along. I drove home and started planning. This was not about revenge. This was about dignity. About making sure Amanda understood that you cannot treat people like disposable tools and expect no consequences. I thought about confronting her privately, but she would just deny everything or make excuses. I thought about sending evidence to her family, but that felt petty. No, what I needed was for Amanda to be exposed in front of the people whose opinions she actually cared about, the people she was trying to impress. The next 2 weeks were strange. I continued seeing Amanda like nothing had changed. She had no idea I knew the truth. She would kiss me goodbye after our dates, tell me she missed me, make plans for the future. Each lie made my resolve stronger. I changed the locks on my garage, realizing she had a key and could access my business files and equipment. I double-checked that we had no joint accounts, no shared assets she could claim. I documented everything. Screenshots of her social media, photos of her with Greg, a timeline of every lie she had told me about working late. Then, 2 Wednesdays after I had overheard that conversation, Amanda texted me. "Babe, my company is having a summer party next Saturday. Do you want to come?" I stared at my phone, genuinely surprised. In 2 years, Amanda had never invited me to a work event. "Not once," I typed back. "Are you sure?" Her response came quickly. "Yeah, it will be fun. Plus, I want to show you off a little." "Show me off." The words were so transparent now. She wanted to make Greg jealous. Or maybe she wanted to keep me as insurance in case things with Greg did not work out. Either way, she was still using me. I smiled and typed, "I would love to." In my head, I already knew exactly what was going to happen at that party. I spent that week preparing. First, I went shopping. Amanda always made those little comments about how I dressed, how I should try wearing something other than jeans and work shirts. So, I bought a suit. Not rental quality, but a real tailored suit in charcoal gray. I got a haircut from an actual stylist instead of my usual barbershop. When I looked in the mirror the night before the party, I barely recognized myself. I looked like someone who belonged in Amanda's world. That was the point. I also prepared the evidence. I transferred all the photos and screenshots to my phone. I found the audio recording app I had used that Friday, the one that had captured Amanda's conversation with her sister. I made sure everything was organized and easy to access. This needed to be clean, definitive. No room for Amanda to twist the truth or play the victim. Saturday evening arrived. I drove to Amanda's apartment, my stomach tight with anticipation. When she opened the door, her eyes went wide. "Wow, you clean up nice," she said, looking me up and down. There was surprise in her voice, maybe a hint of unease. I smiled. "You have never seen me try." On the drive to the party, Amanda was nervous. She kept giving me little instructions. "Try to blend in, okay? Do not talk too much about work. Just be yourself, but you know the polished version." Each word confirmed what I already knew. She was ashamed of who I really was. The party was held at a rooftop bar, with a view of the city skyline. String lights hung overhead, and servers circulated with trays of drinks and appetizers. About 50 people were scattered across the space, mostly Amanda's co-workers and their partners. I recognized Greg immediately standing near the bar, with a few other men in expensive suits. When he saw us walk in, his expression shifted. Just for a moment, I saw calculation in his eyes. Amanda introduced me to a cluster of her co-workers, all women around her age. "Everyone, this is Dylan." That was it. No mention of what I did, how we met, how long we had been together. One of them, a friendly woman named Jennifer, asked me directly, "What do you do, Dylan?" Before I could answer, Amanda cut in. "He works with his hands." The phrase was deliberately vague, and I saw the moment when Jennifer lost interest, her smile becoming polite but empty. They all assumed I was some kind of manual laborer, someone beneath their tax bracket and social circle. Greg approached while Amanda was getting drinks. He extended his hand, his grip just a little too tight. "Hey man, I am Greg. I work with Amanda." His tone was casual, but his eyes were assessing me like I was a competitor, in some game I had not agreed to play. I shook his hand firmly. "I know. Amanda mentions you. She talks about the accounting department a lot." Greg's smile flickered. "Does she?" We stood there for a moment in uncomfortable silence before he excused himself. The evening dragged on. Amanda kept me moving, introducing me to various people, but always pulling me away before conversations could deepen. I noticed how often she glanced at Greg, how she positioned herself to be in his line of sight. At one point, she left me with a group of marketing associates while she went to talk to her boss. I saw Greg join that conversation, saw how Amanda's whole demeanor changed when he was near. She became animated, laughing louder, touching his arm when she made a point. Around 9 p.m., the party had reached that comfortable stage where people were slightly drunk and definitely relaxed. Inhibitions were lower. Guards were down. I saw Amanda standing with Jennifer and Lisa, the three of them talking by the railing overlooking the city. Greg was a few feet away, pretending to look at his phone, but clearly listening. This was it. This was the moment. I walked over to the group. "Hey, Amanda, can I talk to you for a second?" She turned, irritation flashing across her face. "Now I am talking to Jennifer and Lisa." I kept my voice calm, but loud enough to carry. "It is about something important. About us." Nearby conversations started to quiet. People sensed drama and naturally gravitated toward it. Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Can it wait?" I shook my head. "No. I think everyone here should hear this." The irritation turned to worry. "Dylan, what are you doing? You are embarrassing me." I almost laughed at that. Embarrassing you? That is interesting, coming from someone who called me a grease monkey. The color drained from her face. What? I never said anything like that. I pulled out my phone. Really? So you did not tell your sister Stephanie that you are just using me, that you would never marry a grease monkey? A small crowd had formed now. Greg had put his phone away and was watching intently. Amanda started to stammer. "Dylan, I do not know what you think you heard, but I can explain it all if you just calm down, and we can talk privately, and you are taking things out of context." I tapped my phone screen. "You mean this?" I hit play on the audio recording. Amanda's voice filled the space between us, clear and unmistakable. "Relax. I am just using him. I would never marry a grease monkey. Nice does not pay for the lifestyle I want. He fixes my car for free. He is always available, and honestly, he is so into me that he does not question anything. When Greg makes his move, I will just transition." The recording continued for another 30 seconds, each sentence another nail in the coffin. The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer and Lisa had backed away from Amanda, like she carried some contagious disease. Other people were whispering, phones coming out to record what happened next. Amanda's face had gone from pale to bright red. That was taken out of context. She tried, her voice shaking. "I did not mean it the way it sounded. I was just venting to my sister. You cannot use a private conversation against me like this." I stayed calm. "Was it private? Because I also have these." I pulled up the photos on my phone, the ones of her and Greg at the Italian restaurant. I handed my phone to Jennifer. "That is from 2 weeks ago. Amanda told me she was working late on a presentation." I looked at Greg. "Did you know she had a boyfriend?" Greg's expression had shifted from curiosity to disgust. He looked at Amanda like he was seeing her for the first time. "Amanda, what the hell? You told me you were single, that we were just taking things slow because you had just gotten out of a relationship." Amanda tried to salvage the situation, turning to Greg with pleading eyes. "Greg, I can explain. It is not what you think. Dylan and I were basically over anyway, and I was going to tell you, but the timing never felt right, and this is all just a misunderstanding." Greg held up his hand, cutting her off. "No thanks. I do not date liars. And honestly, the fact that you would use someone like that, string him along while you waited for something better, that says everything I need to know about your character." He walked away without looking back. I turned my attention back to Amanda, who looked like she wanted the rooftop to open up and swallow her. "You wanted someone who could give you a certain lifestyle, Amanda. Someone whose money came easy, whose hands stayed clean. But what you did not realize is that people who work hard, who build something real with their own effort with integrity, they are worth more than any trust fund or family business. I am a mechanic. I own my garage. I am proud of what I do. And I am glad I found out who you really are before I wasted any more time. We are done." I walked toward the exit, leaving Amanda standing in the wreckage of her own making. Behind me, I could hear Jennifer's voice. "I cannot believe you would do that to someone. You are not who I thought you were." The whispers grew louder as I pushed through the door and headed for the stairs. My hands were shaking, adrenaline flooding my system. But underneath the nerves was something else. Relief. Freedom. The weight of pretending, of ignoring my instincts, of accepting someone's shame, all of it lifted. The first few weeks after the party were not easy. I wish I could say I felt nothing but victory, that walking away had been simple and clean. The truth was messier. 2 years is a long time. Even when someone betrays you, even when you know leaving was right, there is still grief. I grieved the relationship I thought I had, the future I had imagined. Some mornings, I woke up and instinctively reached for my phone to text her before remembering. Those moments hurt. Amanda tried to contact me. The texts started the day after the party. I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Can we please talk? I ignored them. Then came the calls, which I declined. Then emails. In one long message, she tried to explain everything away. She claimed she had been confused, that she had felt pressure from her family to date someone more financially successful, that she had never meant to hurt me. She said Greg had pursued her aggressively, and she had gotten caught up in the attention. She insisted that she loved me, that she had just lost her way temporarily. I deleted it without finishing. After 2 weeks of silence from me, she showed up at my garage. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was elbow deep in an engine replacement when I heard her voice. "Dylan, please. I need to talk to you." I straightened up, wiping my hands on a rag. One of my employees, Marcus, glanced over with concern. I walked to the front office where Amanda stood, looking small and miserable. I kept my voice level. "There is nothing to talk about. You made your feelings clear." She started crying. "I did not mean those things. I was being stupid and shallow, and I have learned so much from this. I know I do not deserve it, but I am asking for another chance." I looked at her and felt nothing but exhaustion. "Amanda, even if I believed you, which I do not, why would I want to be with someone who was embarrassed by me? Someone who thought I was temporary? You did not just hurt me. You lied for months. You were building a relationship with someone else while pretending to be committed to me. That is not a mistake. That is who you are." She tried to argue, but I held up my hand. "I need you to leave. If you show up here again, I will consider it harassment." She left finally, and I have not seen her since. Slowly, I rebuilt my life. I threw myself into work with renewed focus. That expansion I had been planning, I made it happen. I signed the lease on a second location across town, hired 4 new employees, invested in better equipment. My business grew. Customers who had heard about what happened at the party went out of their way to support me. Apparently, Amanda's public humiliation had become local gossip, and people appreciated how I had handled it with dignity rather than cruelty. My reputation, instead of being damaged, was enhanced. My parents were incredibly supportive. My dad, who had taught me everything I knew about engines, told me he was proud of how I had stood up for myself. "You did not let anyone make you feel small. That takes strength." My mom hugged me and said anyone who cannot see your worth is not worth your time. Their belief in me mattered more than I had realized. Friends rallied around me too. Marcus, who had worked at the garage for 5 years, started inviting me to cookouts at his place. "You need to get out of your head, man," he said. "Stop thinking about her and start living again." Through him, I met new people, made new friends who knew me as Dylan, the successful business owner, not Dylan, the guy who got cheated on. Slowly, the identity I had built around being Amanda's boyfriend faded. I became just myself again. 4 months after the party, I met someone new. Her name was Caroline, and she came into the garage because her truck needed new brake pads. She was a landscape architect, covered in dirt from a job site, completely unpretentious. We started talking about our work, and she listened with genuine interest. When I mentioned owning the garage, she looked impressed. "That is amazing. Building your own business takes so much courage." We went to dinner the following week, then another dinner, then weekend hikes and lazy Sunday mornings. What struck me about Caroline was how different everything felt. She asked to see the new garage location and spent an hour walking around, asking questions about my plans for expansion. She introduced me to her friends proudly, never hesitating to explain what I did. When we went to her company's holiday party, she spent half the evening telling people about a complicated transmission job I had just completed, clearly thinking it was fascinating. She respected my work, which meant she respected me. 6 months after the breakup, I was doing better than I had in years. The second garage was profitable. I had hired a manager for the original location, so I could focus on growing the business. Caroline and I were talking about moving in together. My life had not just recovered. It had improved. Sometimes I thought about Amanda and wondered if she had learned anything. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she and Greg never got together after that night. Apparently, her reputation at work had taken a serious hit, and several people who had witnessed the party confrontation no longer trusted her. I felt no satisfaction in that. I just felt grateful that I had gotten out. The biggest lesson I learned was about self-worth. For too long, I had let Amanda's opinion of my work affect how I saw myself. When she was proud of me, I felt valuable. When she was ashamed, I felt less than. But my value was never dependent on her perception. I did honest, skilled work that helped people. I built a business through dedication and expertise. Those things had worth regardless of whether Amanda or anyone else recognized it. The moment I understood that truly understood it deep in my bones, I became free. I also learned that love requires respect. Real love, the kind that lasts, cannot exist without mutual respect. If your partner is embarrassed by what you do, if they hide you from their friends, if they see you as temporary or convenient, that is not love. That is something else entirely. Something selfish and hollow. I deserved someone who saw my grease-stained hands as evidence of hard work, not something shameful. Caroline saw that. And that made all the difference. Now, when I think about that Friday evening when I overheard Amanda's conversation, I actually feel grateful. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it was a betrayal. But it also saved me from wasting more years with someone who fundamentally did not respect me. It pushed me to stand up for myself in a way I might not have otherwise. It taught me that sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. It is just walking away, building a better life, and proving everyone wrong by being successful and happy. So here I am, almost a year later. The garage is thriving. I have someone in my life who treats me with genuine love and respect. I wake up every morning excited about the work ahead of me, and when I get home at night, my hands might be stained with grease, but I would not have it any other way. Because these hands built something real. These hands earned respect through skill and dedication. And no one, not Amanda or anyone else, can take that away from me. Have you ever been in a situation where someone made you feel less than what you are? Have you ever had to walk away from someone who did not appreciate your worth? Drop your story in the comments below. I read everyone, and I would love to hear how you stood up for yourself. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges and finding your strength. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they are enough exactly as they are. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for being part of this community. Remember, the right person will never make you feel like you need to be someone else. They will see your value exactly as you are. Keep your head up, keep working hard, and never let anyone convince you that honest work is something to be ashamed of. Until next time, take care of yourselves.